Hey, I'm Zsolt. Welcome back to the Sketchar Mind Conference recordings. We're at session 9 out of 16, and this one features Janis Ozolins. You probably know him from those super clean, simple visuals that pop up all over social media. Millions of people follow his work, and for good reason. He makes complex ideas instantly clear. If you're new to the series, you'll find all the resources linked below, including the big Excalibur whiteboard, where I'm collecting notes from every session. Janis also shared his presentation slides, and you'll find the links to those in the video description, on the Excalibur board, and on the conference site. Now, a bit about Janis. Just a few years ago, he was trying to find his footing online, until he discovered the power of visual communication. Within months, everything changed. Now he collaborates with some of the biggest names in the creator space, and he helps thousands of others explain their ideas visually. In this talk, Janis shows that visual thinking isn't about art or fancy design, it's about clear thinking. Even a rough sketch can work beautifully if the idea is strong. He shares his 6-point checklist for visuals that actually land, covering flow, resonance, and emotional impact. His main message really stuck with me. Don't try to be clever, just be clear. At the end of the video, you'll hear the music I composed for this session. If you'd like to support my work, you can get the conference album, join the next visual thinking workshop, grab my book, Sketch Your Mind, or try the Obsidian Excalibur plugin. All the links are in the description below. And now, enjoy Janis' session packed with insights on clarity, simplicity, and the natural flow of visuals.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. My pleasure to be here, and I'm very excited to show few good tricks and tips that might help you in your visual journey. Let me bring up the screen. You don't see anything right now, right? Now you do. Am I correct? Are you seeing something relatable? Yes. Okay, I see the chat. I don't see any sounds. Sweet. Let's dive in. So, yeah, as already said, my name is Janis. I basically started created visuals in 2020, so some 5 years back. Just for a little bit more context, around 8 years back, I got the so-called 4-hour work week fever. You know, you read the Tim Ferriss's book 4-Hour Work Week, and you feel like you want to do online business and all that sort of stuff. So for some good 4 years, there was crickets. I didn't manage to do anything, but yeah, after 4 years, I discovered visuals. I really loved this type of communication, and I just pursued it seriously, and it somehow worked out. Of course, it didn't start so pretty. By the way, later you will be able to join whatever my newsletter, and there's a special issue which is called sharing my early visuals. So at the beginning they were tremendously ugly. They didn't make any freaking sense. So it didn't start as pretty as you might see right now online. But yeah, long story short, started the visuals, finally gained some momentum, built an audience. People kept asking me how I do this stuff. A lot of people who I really admired reached out to me. I wanted to illustrate their books and stuff like that. So it's been a wild, cool ride, and I'm just here. Pretty much will guide you through my process. Super quick on agenda. Quick motivational boost for those who you think, oh, I'm not a designer, I can't do this stuff. Trust me, you can. Then I will explain what makes a good visual, at least in my world, because like visuals, there's so many different things, but there's specific stuff that I do, which is specific to me. And I will show you what makes a good visual in my world, not in somebody else's. And then I'll just guide you through my process. How do I actually come up with this stuff? And at the end, we will cover some common mistakes and best practices. And then we will dive into Q&A. Should take probably around some 45 minutes and then some 15 minutes for Q&A. And of course, if we want, we can go over, but that's more up to Zsolt to manage that when we need to cut short. So, starting, explaining ideas visually is not fancy art, and you can do it too. Visuals are for designers and creative people. That's something you hear a lot, like, oh, visuals, oh, that's for artists, that's for creative people. When I started it, I somehow looked at it a little bit differently. To me, it's just another language. It's not fancy art, it's just another language. And just to prove my point, here you can see an idea written in simple English and then basically communicating the same idea with a visual and a little bit of English. And don't tell me you can't draw this super simple bar chart with two texts below them. It's very simple to illustrate that. It's all about the concept, not how fancy you draw or stuff. So that to me is this explaining ideas visually. And just to give you more belief that you can do this, like imagine just this spectrum. There's next level design skills, if you want to create some super fancy art and fancy sketches and Mona Lisa and whatnot. And then on the other end, where you don't need to have any designer skills, are like people, I would say, like Tim Urban. You probably know him. He's a good artist. He has a very unique taste, but his visuals are very like quirky and simple, and a lot of us probably can make them. And when it comes to visuals, you really, as you can see, you don't need to make some super fancy art. So it depends where you want to be in this kind of spectrum. But to communicate with visuals, you really don't need to be a designer. You can start super crappy and ugly and still communicate concepts very clearly. And here's like just a good example from one person on socials, who just made a thread with these super simple visuals, which is just like made on a paper, grab the picture, and you can see it like when banana virals, it's absolutely crazy, and you really don't need any design skills to create something like that. So yeah, ideas and concepts over aesthetics. I just want you to understand that it's really not about which colors you use or this and that. It's really secondary. It's all about the concepts. That's the meat. That's the meat of this thing. And I really want you to kind of understand that, so you can shake off that belief of, oh, I'm not a designer, I can't do this, etc., etc. So why does this stuff works? To me, there's like 6 kind of principles that I try to follow. And basically, whenever I create a visual, I have this checklist in mind, which I kind of try to make sure I'm doing the best in every of these fields. And if we look at those 6 things, we can see them as a dial. Like here's a lot of them, but we will take one by one, step by step. So there's novelty, resonance, amplification, clarity, speed, and flow. Let's start with novelty. We'll go through all of them. So novelty, does this look fresh, or it's something people have seen hundreds of times? You know what novelty means. And then on the visual spectrum, it would be like, does it feel like super familiar and overused, or this is like surprising and new? Like novelty definition, creating something new, different, or unexpected. Okay. The good part with visuals and novelty is that visuals almost do this by default. Like if you look at this visual, it's like very interesting, very unique, novel that a lot of people haven't seen, but the idea itself is very plain. Of course, like some people complain that they don't have time, they have full calendar, whatever, but if I'm making time, I'm stop watching Netflix, etc., etc. Like very common, very simple idea, but presented as a visual in this way, it automatically has a lot more novelty, and like people appreciate that. Here, another simple idea, like when you love what you do, when you only want results, like basically when you love what you do, goes up, you kind of keep doing it, and you get to the point where you get results. But again, super simple visual, but super simple idea, but visualized makes it more novel, makes it more interesting. Cool. Next thing, resonance. Does it emotionally like connect or leave people like indifferent in your particular niche? Of course, some I might not resonate with some ideas if it's from like some mystical niche that I don't care about. But for your particular audience, are you like hitting good with resonance? Do people like, oh yeah, this is so me, that's so true? Are you hitting that kind of that emotion with your visuals? It's very important and can be very powerful. So capture what your audience feels and relates to. That's more the core of the resonance part. And here, the first visual which I show you, of course, like most of you probably are same procrastinators and always behind like me, and you saw this visual and you felt a lot of resonance. Like that's what I mean with resonance. You try to get like good amount of resonance from maybe not every single visual. Of course, context matters here, but it's like a good guiding principle. Another one, good with resonance, and it's especially good with I could like actually how I discovered and when I started to pay more attention to resonance was when I created visuals. Like my first kid was born, and I read some parenting books, and like a very common thing that came up in all the books I read was like, hey, you need to acknowledge kids' feelings, before you give them advice, etc., etc. And I felt, God damn it, like that's so true, even if I come home, it's like the same thing for adults, not only kids. If I come home from a hard day of work and like my wife opens doors and she says like, well, you look tired today, well, you shouldn't drink beer in the evening, I don't want to hear that, but if she's, oh honey, you had a hard day at work, yes I did, that's where the conversation kind of opens, and you can have like give some advice and whatever. And saying all of that is when I initially started on social media to share all these visuals. What I did was like I had this 4-year experience as aspiring struggling creator, and what I did, I illustrated a lot of these creator struggles and feelings around creativity, and that did particularly well. So just sharing this story to think about for your niche, what are some certain things where you can find and feelings you can acknowledge. That's something you think about to create more resonance. Another one, January 1st, we procrastinate until that day, say our big things, and then we have new excuses why we didn't do them. Again, positive comments, negative comments, let's focus here, and feel like shit. Super common for those who create online and get some bad feelings. Not bad feelings, but bad comments. Amplification, that's an interesting one. So are you adding more punch and power to the idea, or it feels plain? Like here, essentially the idea is like, you don't add amplification to every single visual. If the idea itself is like super novel and interesting, you might not need amplification. You might just complex it with amplifying it more. And to give like a good example here, this is from like a freelance gig I did a while back while illustrating a book. And essentially here the kind of the story in the chapter was about that back in the days kids had a lot more freedom, and turns out that they were like more happy. And now 50 years later, kids are less free, and their happiness kind of drops down along with it. And you look at this visual and it's like, fine, cool, we're kind of representing the data, but it's like, it's fine, it's not amazing or whatever. So we thought how we can amplify this particular idea. And this is what we did. Now we have painted a picture of the future and created a question. Do we want this? Do we want to like limit kids' freedoms even more? And as a result, they will be even less happier, And this is what I mean by amplification. It makes this simple concept much more meaningful, much more like thought-provoking and powerful. So yeah, when you are in a situation where you look at your visual and like, this doesn't, it's just like plain and blank and could be better, that's when you can try to push yourself and figure out how we can amplify this concept. Another one, dream, project, task, slice and start. This is one of those things where the idea and the metaphor itself, I felt, is so interesting and unique that I don't want to amplify it even more. It's just nice. I loved it. I thought it's like, it has a lot of novelty, so I feel like it's okay not to add like amplification for this one. All right, clarity. Sorry, before I move on, about amplification, here we can say that you can see the caption, slice and start. That would be like almost like amplification in this case, where you don't add it to the visual, but you add it to the broader picture, as a caption. You can amplify with caption as well if you do this stuff on social media or newsletters or whatever. Next thing, clarity. Is it clear or people are scratching their heads? Yeah, I love this quote by Donald Miller, like a marketing guy. People are drawn to clarity and away from confusion. I believe if you look at your own actions, you believe that's actually true. It's fine to be clever, but it shouldn't come at the cost of clarity. And a simple test, what I often do is like, I will just ask my wife or a friend, I will show the visual I have made, and I will just ask, do you get this? And I don't care, do they say, is it a good idea or bad idea? They only think, yeah, I get it. I think it's stupid, or I think it's great. That's fine. Main thing I'm looking for is that they don't scratch their heads. Sometimes I show a visual to somebody and they're like, what do you mean? What's going on here? That is a signal that you're not doing well in this area. Next one is speed. When people look at it, how quickly they get the idea. And obviously, here I'm talking about this type of visuals. If you create like infographics, obviously, like it will take more time to digest it. And here, like a simple example would be here. Two artists. I love them both. They are amazing, great. But here, just if you look at the right from visualize value, there's three words: shoot, mistake, failure. You just look at it, you can observe with these. It's very quickly to digest it. If you look at the left from sketchplanations, great idea, very interesting. But there's like a big caption, a lot of words on the visual. You're like, ooh, it will take some time to digest this idea. Do I really want to commit to it? And like, the one on the right is more faster to digest and more quick. You give like a quick win to your audience there. Hee hee ha ha, like and subscribe, whatever. All is good. The left one is more like you scratch your head. You are thinking, do I want to digest it or no? But here I want to say there's no right or wrong. This is just to give you an example. For example, like if you will consume the sketchplanations and visualize value visual in this case, and your goal would be to build trust, you would probably build more trust with long form content. You build trust by listening to podcasts, YouTube videos, etc., etc. That's where you build trust. So essentially, longer articles, longer visuals, more information builds more trust. But if you want to kind of capture attention, then visual on the right would be really good. And of course, there's ways how to go around this. Then in the comments, you can add links to articles and stuff like that, but it works like a really good hook. Okay, I hope I made my point. But in my world, usually I try to aim for speed, not infographics. I guess it's simpler to make them as well because there's less going on, less designing, less everything. Cool. Yeah, so those are the kind of the master checklist. When you make a visual, when you brainstorm a visual, this is where you kind of look and scratch your head, and you can move these dials and think about, it's not clear, I need to improve clarity. Or you feel that, yeah, everything is good, but like the novelty is low and the amplification is low, then you try to figure out how to amplify that idea, how to make it more punchier and interesting. So flow, top to bottom, left to right. Yeah, sorry, I missed the last element is flow. Does the eyes flow naturally from top to bottom, from left to right in majority of the world? Or you are kind of arranging elements difficult, like in random ways, so it's kind of hard to digest what's going on there. And as an example here, this is like I very intentionally think about this when I create my visuals. Here you can see that the legends are above, show up every day, no matter how small. It's almost like a quote that would work without a visual. And then you see the visual and you kind of get the further picture. But if the legends would be below at the bottom, then it would be a bit more confusing because you see the visual like kind of all those squares and you are, what does it mean? But now I give you the legends right away and then you digest the visual. So that's kind of the correct order. Here again, tiny must do tasks. You automatically see that. Okay, yellow means tiny must do tasks, energy required for completion, mental weight from avoiding. Again, like trying to make sense of that order. Here's another one. If that miss out on this would go at the top and be the first thing you read, because it would be at the top, it would be confusing. Miss out on this, give up here. That's not the right flow. The right flow is give up here, miss out on this. Basically, give up when there's no results, you will miss out on the like upwards trend. So I always try to make sure like I'm arranging elements the right way, and so your eyes are drawn to the messages I want you to digest first. You can also work here with like smaller fonts and bigger fonts, because if you will make something bold and bigger, your eyes automatically will be more drawn to that. But yeah, okay, let's continue. And you might wondering, okay, Janis, cool, you explained these whatever six things, like which one is the most important? I would say, like, in my world, clarity is like super important. If you mess up with clarity, like nothing else really matters. Speed and flow in my world also is like pretty important. And novelty, resonance, amplification is basically will mean how good is it, like your idea and concept itself. All of them are important, but this is how I would arrange it. Like clarity is the top dog in my in my world. And we will now discuss like the brainstorming process. And it's usually when you are brainstorming, when you have your idea and you're kind of bouncing around and trying to figure things out, you mostly think about novelty, resonance, and amplification. And when you are whatever going into Figma, Affinity Designer, Procreate, whatever is your tool, then you will think more about clarity, speed, and flow. You will arrange the elements in the right way. You will maybe redo the texts so they are more clear and more on point and resonate with your audience. So that's kind of small difference there. Sweet. Process overview. Here's the process I follow to create visuals. So essentially, you have idea, whatever it is. You can pick a quote from the internet. You just, I don't know, whatever. Before the meeting I join, maybe I note down, oh, I felt a little bit stressed before the conference. I just wrote down that idea, and I can take that simple idea, that simple thought, and I can make a visual out of it. So you have your original idea, or for example, when I do freelance and illustrate books, it's this is the same process. I have like whatever a short chapter or a short idea I see in the book. That is what I take, and now I will try to illustrate that. And the first thing in the process what I do is to generate text elements. What does it mean? What do I do? Essentially, yeah, text elements. I will do that now. Now's the process overview. Sorry. Next is generate visual elements. Just basically, this is a lot of inspiration, and you see all the stuff in Excel, and when you create bar charts and pie charts, and you observe stuff by browsing online, etc. That's where kind of the concept brainstorm starts. Then we have the master checklist, which we already discussed, which is those 6 things, and then we do the final design in whatever Figma or whatever is your tool. But that's the reality. That's how that's how I would love it to look. But in reality, it's something like this. You have your idea, you start generate some stuff, and it's like all over the place, and you almost have finished the final design, and then you realize it's not really clicking, and you go back, and it's just a messy, ugly process, but very, very fun. So first thing, generating text elements. How do you do that? You take your original idea, and you might ask yourself, like, what do people feel, think, or say about your idea? Like, are there any hidden truths or relatable moments you uncover? Just brainstorm and write that on sticky notes and stuff. You can also use AI for this. You can say like, hey, this is whatever my idea, this is my audience avatar. Can you brainstorm some stuff people think around this concept? So AI is really helpful in the brainstorming process here. Next is like, what data do we have? Results, timeline, like a lot of statistics, cost, whatever, depends on your niche and idea. What comparisons can we create? That is super powerful. Now, later, expectations with the reality, before, after, success, failure, all these different comparisons for your particular idea. Super powerful when it comes to visual design. And then, is there any advice or takeaway? Do this was bad, this does not work, avoid this. Depends again on your idea. And this is really good for amplification. Like, is there any advice or takeaway? You might like give context with your visual and then amplify by giving advice or saying that this is bad or avoid this or whatever. And this is essentially how it looks like. This is on FigJam, where you have a concept, then you have like your comparison, your feelings, your data, and you're just dumping everything that comes to mind. write sticky notes, have your AI inputs, etc. And just that's part of the brainstorming process. So you had a single one sentence idea and you look at it and you're like, what possibly I could illustrate out of this. And then when you create these text elements around it, you have bunch more data to work with. And that's where you kind of go into the next phase, though it kind of mixes matches together. You start to generate visual elements or look at your templates, inspiration boards, and start to kind of stack those text elements. How does my comparison look on a timeline? What happens if I bring in like a Venn diagram and put this here? And it's just a brainstorming process, and you automatically will start to see, oh, this makes sense. Oh, there's this overlap and whatever. It's like a crazy wild process, but that's essentially how it happens. And yeah, maybe after if the Q&A will be done and there will be no more questions, we can try to illustrate some live. Yeah, and of course, when it comes to generating those visual elements, there's like, you can visualize context. That is like one big group. What you can do, I often use this like UI elements. For example, at the beginning, you saw the visual about the tasks and how we like continue to do the first task. I used the calendar there. You can illustrate like how it's a calendar, and you automatically create this context, that, oh, these are time slots and those are tasks. So you can illustrate context in various different ways with to-do lists and various different stuff. Geometric abstractions is something, of course, I love because it's quite simple to do and it's just interesting, where you use a lot of different shapes, which are not maybe classic elements, which is the mid part, like all the bar charts and line charts and processes, Venn diagrams, pie charts, etc. Like all the classic stuff which you do. And then, of course, you can create characters. That's not something I often do, but it's, for example, something I think that Tim Urban does super well. Probably most of you have seen his presentation of Inside the Mind of Master Procrastinator on TED, like I think one of the most famous TED Talk ever. He does a really good job at creating characters, something you can do as well. Back in the days when I started, I was using it a little bit, and I had this character called like Perfectionist Monster, which like entered a lot in my visuals and was like a funny thing. And then, of course, metaphors. We all know what metaphor is: stairs, ripples, like all these bridges and stuff. There's icebergs, a lot of classic ones, and of course, when you go about your day, you can look for more elements. That's something I actually intentionally do. I kind of tune up my awareness, and I always look for visual inspiration. And here in the visual I just shared, you can see, oh, there's pizza slicer. Oh, there's the measuring tape. Oh, there's rubber bands. There's a light bulb. There's this whatever it's called that ladies do with their nails and stuff. Not sure how it's called in English. Feel free to educate me and drop in the comments how it's called. Okay. Enough goofing around. Let's move on. Here's an actual visual I made from the simple caption. I saw this on Google Images. I don't know where I saw it, but I grabbed a picture of it, and this is the visual I created afterwards. Like, just kind of that was the inspiration, and then I had some other idea, and I kind of mixed with that metaphor. This is something I made. Here, something when I read just kids' books, read stories to my kids. There have a lot of pictures in those books, and this is something I snapped picture of and kind of created the visual afterwards. I am really bad at drawing. I know many of you are as well. Some of you are not. Some of you are. What you can do if you're really bad at drawing and want to create metaphors and stuff, you can trace things. And this is actually what I did. I took pictures of those I arranged those dominoes, took pictures of those dominoes, then brought that picture into design tool and slowly traced, the dominoes to create the visual you see on the right. That's how I overcame my inability to draw stuff. And you can do the same thing. Now it's even easier because you can simply go whatever to ChatGPT and request like, hey, can you just in a simple sketch style illustrate whatever you need? And then to make that visual more polished or whatever, if that's your goal, you can then trace whatever ChatGPT kind of gives you. So that's how you can overcome the ability of the basically inability to design like I do. And yeah, of course, take inspiration. You see some visuals, create your own little templates, so you have your inspiration board. So when you generate those text elements, you already have like a big archive of things to get inspired by, and just you can initiate that brainstorming process, and then things will connect. Sweet. So that's basically the process. You take your idea, you have a bunch of this stuff, all the text elements you have generated by asking those various questions and just brainstorming, and then you start to create some sort of concepts, and then you tweak them with basically this checklist and try to refine them, so you get more at the green end in all of these things. But as I said, like, amplification is a bit tricky one. If the idea itself is like super novel, you might not need amplification. Yeah, hope that made sense. Common mistakes and best practices. These are basically some insights I've learned myself, and by having my course and community and teaching this to a lot of people. These are like the most common like feedback and mistakes I see people make. One of them is clear over clever. Like, majority of people, when they want to create these visuals, they automatically jump into the clever part, and they try to come up with something super clever and interesting, and like, I see that visual and I just scratch my head. I can't figure out what do you really mean, and then we kind of try to bring back the clarity, and we land somewhere. So that's super common. Again, good scrappy concept over average beautiful concept in my world. Of course, if you want to create beautiful stuff, sure, knock yourself out. But if your goal is to explain ideas visually, like, good scrappy concept over average beautiful concept, this I'm more sharing to just, yeah, you can always iterate later. Social captions, amplify instead of repeat yourself. If you create on social media, what I see a lot of people do is they will have a visual and then they will say exactly the same thing in the captions. But here, as you can see, the caption is, love has more patience, so pursue projects that excite you. And the visual, when you love what you do, when you only want results. So there's different wording, different meaning, it connects well, but you are not repeating yourself. Don't repeat yourself. Amplify instead of repeat yourself. I would say only difference, if you post on Instagram, it might be a little bit trickier. If you post on like LinkedIn, X, where you see the captions above the visual, it's okay. But on Instagram, often it's like buried in the description, and a lot of people will not see the captions. I'm sharing this because on Instagram, you need always make sure that visuals stand on its own, without some additional words. So it is clear without adding extra words. Where on other channels, you might get away with having a little bit more confusing visual because you can like give some clarity with the caption. Use it on newsletters. That's like a cool place where to use it. And I think it's just a very beautiful white space you can add to your newsletters. So yeah, do that. It's cool. Thumbnails, of course, as well, as something important, and you can always like adjust your visual sizes so it fits in all the places and doesn't look like cropped or something like that when you use it in a Substack newsletter or somewhere else. You can always iterate, just ship it. So here you can see a visual I created, I don't know, some good while ago, and I look at it, okay, cool, I like the idea, working, taking a shower, idea appears, whatever, simple, cool. And then my style slowly have evolved. I went from Procreate to Affinity to Illustrator, then to Affinity Designer, now on Figma. And I just kind of iterate on it, and you have extra content. So it's just remember that. Here, just another example. Some old visual, then new visual, just made a little bit differently, but essentially the same idea. So always prioritize concept and just ship it, and you can iterate on it later. Of course, if you illustrate this for a book or something more permanent than a social post, sure, be a bit more perfectionist, try to really get it right, but don't go crazy. A lot of people do. Yeah, I usually work with a lot of ideas at the same time. If it's hard, park it and move on to the next one. At least I have found it very, very useful. Like whatever, when I illustrate books or work on my own posts, I always bounce around between ideas. Something clicks, something doesn't click, then I work on another idea and just get inspiration for the previous one. So it's nice to bounce around. At least it works for me, but see how it's for yourself. Yeah, I don't know if you can actually read what it's written there, but it's written there. Can you read the text without zooming in? And it's something very common I see visual creators do. They have such a small font. So when you post on social media, people need to like take their phone and then zoom in order to read what you're saying. That is very, very bad. You want like always test your visuals on phone if you share on social media, so you can easily read what it's written there. You don't need to zoom in, because that's just usually will be, people will not zoom in and they will just keep scrolling. So make sure you can read. The size is appropriate for mobile phones. If relevant, tag big accounts. Not something I often do, and Adam Grant actually just found this by himself and shared it, which was very nice. But of course, sometimes if you illustrate ideas inspired by some idols or whatever, and your goal is to grow on social media, it's not bad idea to tag them here and there and just let them know. You never know, they might share your work, and that can lead to some extra growth for you, just for those who are sharing on social media. And that is it. We fired through that. Let's move on to the Q&A. My website and newsletter is at ozo.art. You can just subscribe to the newsletter there. I have 2 newsletters, but one of them is Explain Ideas Visually, where you can read like quite a few articles on visuals, and there's also the article about my like first initial visual, so you can continue your journey there. Of course, if you want to take this whatever more seriously, get my feedback and stuff like that, you can join my course and community. It's now on waitlist, but it will open in few days time. That's on explainideasvisually.com. That is it. Let's move on to the Q&A. Zsolt, do you want to come and join as well, or I just should go to Q&A?
I'm happy to help. Yeah. So.
All right.
You want me to read them out, or you can just go one by one, and I can click them as answered. Yeah.
I will read them. So you already mentioned the importance of font size in your tokens. Do you also provide alternate when you post? Okay.
So maybe I'll read it out, because then in the recording it's
yeah, you can read it out, please do. Yeah, that's fine.
Not that I read very well, but so in best practice section of session, have tip for filtering information after get them from inputs. That's Abel Melek is asking this question.
Can which one? Okay.
So that's at the top. 6 minutes ago, Abel Mac Lachmar asked in best practice section of session.
Okay.
Is best practice for filtering information after get them from inputs. So how do you filter all the ideas from all the inputs that you've collected? I guess is the question.
Not sure I got the question. Can you rephrase that? In best practice section of session, have tip for filtering information after get them from inputs. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm getting that.
Okay, maybe let's move on. There's a quick question here.
If you can rephrase that.
Exactly. So if Abimelech, you can reply to your own question and add a bit more context. And
that would be great.
There's actually yeah, rephrase exactly. So there's a quick question here. Will you post the slides? So much value.
Sure, I can post the slides, no worries. But yeah, I don't have any link prepared, but I can share that with you, Zsolt, and then you can, I don't
Yeah, and
know,
I can add it
boost it
to
out.
the docs here. Yes, exactly. And the recording or the replay is going to
Sure
be
thing. Yeah.
available, so you can also
No,
watch the
no, yeah,
replay.
cool, no problem. And thanks for the kind words. Happy you found some value there.
Okay, so then Andy has a question. Is it correct to say that the cross-cutting pattern that emerges from the presentations is the articulation between reflective creation, precise symbolic evaluation, conceptual refinement, and critical synthesis skills? Wow.
What's that? That sounds like a ChatGPT question. No, sorry, Andy. No, I'm just struggling. That's such a smart language you are using there. I'm a bit lost. Is it correct to say that the cross-cutting pattern that emerges from the present is? Yeah, sorry, I need to move on. Again, can you rephrase that simply? Just like
I think the cross-cutting pattern that emerges from the presentation, so when you have a simple visual and the cross-cutting pattern is the different elements that you've just described, if it, yeah, but
yeah, if you can say that more simply. Sorry, you need to dumb it down for me. Again, I'm giving inspiration for those who are like not artists or designers. Like you can see what type of person I am, and I can't really get this stuff. But yeah.
all right. So can we apply the six concept of visual design, clarity, amplification, etc., on kind of information, textual, vocal, animation, numerics, or they are specific to visual?
Yeah, I think definitely it's if we go back, obviously, you know, anything pretty much you do, like, of course, I don't know if you do storytelling, you know, you maybe don't want to rush like crazy, you know, or whatever, but yes, of course, I think these are pretty common traits that kind of go over to other aspects as well, for sure.
So Anand has a question. How do you manage time with these? I have a habit of getting distracted with shiny next idea, severe case of ADHD.
Yeah, I would say, like, in general, if you struggle with finishing stuff or whatever, visuals are pretty good like format to use, because as I said, like the majority of thinking happens in your head, you know. This is this fun part. You generate these text elements and you're bouncing all over the place, and it's fun and playful and interesting. And then at the end, you know, when you get going and when you want to make your final visual, like when you have a concept, whatever, there is some example like creating this in Figma or whatever, or Procreate, it's not that hard. It's pretty simple. You can get it done in like 10 minutes, you know. So concept is the king, and you can kind of do it while going around your day and doing different stuff. One thing which worked for me initially, when I said I love this format, I want to take this seriously, I want to try to grow my socials and whatever and get this thing done, I had already a running challenge with my best friend, where we basically every day we did like some push-ups and some simple exercise, and we reported each other, hey, did your exercise? And if we didn't, we sent each other like $1. If we didn't do it, was just a fun little friendly accountability thing we did. And when I wanted to do visuals, I said, you know, I want to layer in visuals as well. I want to publish one visual every single day, and that constraint kind of helped me kind of to keep at it and get going. So maybe it helps for you as well. And additional thing which I would add there, the more you will create, the more resources you will create, the bigger your Figma file will be, the more things you will put out, the easier it will get over time. It will be a lot easier to come up with new concepts and reuse other assets and stuff like that. So I hope that was helpful. Good luck.
Yeah. So the next question here is from Jesse. How should accessibility be considered in developing visuals? I notice on Mastodon, I'm asked to include an alt text description with the graphics.
The honest answer is I don't know, because I don't do it. I don't have really time for it. I haven't even considered that. But I have heard from a person in my community who have thought about this, and what she said that AI can be super useful for creating these things. So I don't know. The honest answer is I don't know. I don't know how they are made, but I know AI probably can help you kind of pump out those alt text descriptions things a lot more easily and faster. So that's just how I would probably try to approach solving that. Yeah, maybe in
By the
future,
way,
somebody can create like an agent or something where you just jump your visual and boom, you get out the specific thing you need.
By the way, I like to use AI for the same thing as you mentioned, asking your wife, do you get it? So if you drop the image to AI and ask to describe the concept, and it gets something close to what you thought, then you're probably on the right track. If it says something gibberish, then probably your visual is not clear.
Yep.
But for the using it for the alt text, that's an awesome idea. I'm going to start to do that myself. I am a live scribe artist and normally have to try and draw clear metaphors quickly. Is there a trick to making quick decisions, or it is just a matter of practice and building your visual libraries?
What is scribe artist? I wonder what is scribe artist. Let me Google. Just learning so much here. A lot of new formats. Okay, it's like something related to graffiti. Okay, I'll try to do my best. Normally have to try and live scribe artist. So
I guess the question is, when you're creating a live sketch note or live illustration, so you're maybe in a meeting or at a conference and you're creating notes or facilitating a discussion, then how do you make those? By the way, just a side note, tomorrow we'll have Oliver Caviglioli take live sketch notes while Jono Hay is going to be talking about sketch explanations. So it's just an example of the live scribing.
Well, I would say when I'm doing this live, like I'm essentially doing the same process. I'm kind of generating these text elements, and I often will do it on like a whiteboard and with sticky notes and stuff, and like doing just all that process live, and then some patterns will emerge. Of course, if you just need to think and come up with the concept right away, it is a bit more difficult. So there I would say just practice will make you like better and perfect. Obviously now you can say some idea and already I will start envision some sort of concepts in my mind, and it's a little bit more simpler, I would say, at least for me, because I'm not that crazy on metaphors. I'm mostly using like these geometric elements and stuff like that. And I'm like, when I hear an idea or a concept or whatever, I see there is some comparison, okay, I have these two elements. What is some other factor there? And then I start to like map out in my mind, okay, it could be timeline, it could be this. Oh, this is an important takeaway there. So I just try to visualize that concept already in my head and kind of try to map it out. But yeah, like probably practice makes perfect, or do the brainstorming live, or like when it comes to metaphors, I think their AI can be pretty useful as well. I haven't really it definitely can be useful, but I haven't really like focused on trying to use AI to come up with a lot of metaphors, but it could probably come up with concepts. All right, I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, so Clara Koo has a question. Do you see clarity and speed as somewhat related? You mentioned that clarity is about do you get it, but it seems like speed is also about how fast you get it.
Yeah, it would be, they are similar, but I would say like clarity, you can illustrate an infographic and it can still be very clear. You just sit down, you digest that infographic and yep, that makes sense, got it, like pretty clear. But speed is more like boom. When you scroll social media, when you scroll social media, how quickly, because especially this is like an interesting concept early on, which I discovered, because when I started to create on socials with 0 followers, etc., I didn't have any credibility whatsoever. And what I noticed and what some people mentioned was like, let's just you stopped my scroll when I was scrolling the feed, and I didn't even needed to consider, do I want to digest it? It was just so simple, so easy to understand, that I just automatically got it, and that drawn me to your work, because you give value in this super short, precise time. So they are different, but they are similar as well. So I don't know. I hope that was somewhat useful.
Yeah, so Abimelech Lamar has a question in terms of using capital letters in your text to amplify information. So how do you see the difference between using a big font size versus all capitals?
It's more taste. I would say it's mostly taste. You want to go all caps, go all caps. If you want to go like first is like big letter and the rest is small, do that. Like there's various visual creators who kind of do one or the other, and I wouldn't say it's like better or worse in that sense. The only thing, like as I said, like the flow is very important. And for example, if your visual somewhat is so kind of whatever arranged in such a way where at the bottom right corner is the message you want your reader to consume first, that's when I will use like a bigger font, a bit more bolder, to draw attention to that part first, so they read that first and then they kind of consume the rest of the visual. If I can't manage the top to bottom, left to right kind of layout, that's how I think about it.
So then, yeah, so this is a clarification on the first question. So when you collect information and you have too much, how do you filter and choose the right one for the visual? Have you any tips?
Yeah. Often when you will have one original idea and you will generate a lot of these text elements, etc., very, very often it will you will come up with several visuals, which is like a great problem to have. You wanted this one piece of idea, but now you have like 3 different ways how you kind of express this. So that's one thing. And yeah, it's a good question, because a lot of people struggle. Oh, Janis, I have this, and like I'm trying to communicate all of this together, and it's like, yeah, it now starts to look more like infographic. What if we just break it down? Let's communicate this, then this, then this. So yeah, often multiple ideas. And a helpful question as well, there's like, just close your eyes and ask, like, what am I trying to communicate? What I want my audience to like feel, understand from this concept when they see it. And when you ask that question and when you have clarity yourself on that question, then it will be a lot more easier to understand which words should stay, which words should leave, what you can cut, what you can keep, what you should reword, etc.
So Andy has a clarification on the earlier question. So he observes that there's a pattern of action between creativity, judgment, and synthesis.
Where I can see that at the top, or no?
It should be one below. Let me remove that. Then it was 12 minutes ago by Andy Caprani. I see that there is a pattern of action between creativity, judgment, and synthesis.
I see that there's a pattern of action between creativity, judgment, and synthesis.
I think this relates to the arrows back and forth. So in reality, your process is not that linear flow as it's neatly laid out, but there is a pattern of action between doing some creative generating text elements and visuals, and then making judgments what to use, and then synthesizing it into a.
Yeah, it's more like a statement, and I would say, yeah, it's definitely true that it's just you keep progressing, and a lot of this comes back down to a lot of us probably feel like, oh, I can't create this, but I can see this visual and I can say this is good or bad. You have good judgment often when it comes to visuals, but you don't know how to create them. So through this process, you just dump everything, and you kind of mix and match in this like wilderness, not really knowing what essentially you're doing and not sure where you will end up. But that's where your kind of judgment comes in and your taste comes in. Oh, I see, this could actually like work out. So yeah, not sure if it's like a question or more like a statement, but
yeah. And what I love in your work, Janis, is that indeed the shapes and visuals you're using are brutally simple. So there is really, in that sense, no difficulty in drawing a rectangle. I mean, come on, any of these examples are extremely simple. Maybe the cheese is a bit more difficult, but this,
Yeah.
if once you see it, it's extremely easy to reproduce it, which proves to me that it's not a question of can I draw, but have I the idea to convey and the concept of what I want to convey.
Exactly. You could go tomorrow in front of your whatever audience on a whiteboard and draw this concept probably from the top of your head if you just look at it and kind of remember the idea. Not that hard.
Yeah, amazing. All right, so we have a question from Rundolph. Have you any free, reliable sources of icons, emojis set someone can use for his notes?
Well, not really. Of course, over time, I have accumulated a lot. For example, like whenever I will see something interesting or whatever, or I scroll social media and I see some, that's really interesting or whatever, could function like inspiration for me. I just grab a screenshot of it. Like once a week or every other week, I'll go through my like new photos or screenshots I have captured, and I kind of put them in one folder. So over time, you will start to develop this folder of like inspiration and stuff. Then like I don't know, in my course and community, there are like templates I have intentionally created for students. There's just essentially with some effort you can create like a base for yourself. And when it comes to emojis and stuff like that and icons, I would say we have AI. You can easily like really focus on the kind of the concept and start to brainstorm stuff. Of course, I understand it's nice that you have like a lot of elements laying around, so they are functioning a little bit like an inspiration. But whenever you need something specific, essentially go to AI, go to Google Images, Google something, ask AI to create it, then trace it, whatever, get some inspiration there. But I don't have like a simple. Sorry.
What I like to do is I like to ask the chat, whichever chat you're using, AI, to give me nouns that I can use to search for icons on Flaticon or wherever else. So I describe the concept and I just ask for nouns, maybe 15, 20 nouns. And then as I read through the nouns, that usually triggers a good element that then I can search indeed on Google or wherever to get an icon. So I think
that's cool.
Your point on using AI, I think for me that's been the most helpful in terms of using it as a language model, and it gives me good words to cook from. Okay. Okay. So there's a question from Pierre. Look, but I'm afraid we don't have the time. If you could do, but maybe in 2 minutes, can you do?
I can go over if needed, but yeah.
I mean, a couple of minutes we can go over. So the quote here is, "Play is the highest form of research," by Einstein.
Yeah, well, I definitely will not draw right now, like because it's just I will try to bring up the whiteboard and it will probably be already over time. But let's just think through this. Maybe you could do an example of quote, "Play is the highest form of research." All right, interesting. So, okay, we have play is the highest form of research. Play, research. I don't know. I automatically see this positive comments, negative comments, and I see a lot of dots, and that's like, that to me is like play, experimenting stuff, trying different things. So it's almost like whatever, it could be like list of not to do's or something that you have done. and then it's like, then okay, play, how we could illustrate play. It should be more fun. So I don't know, we could add hearts. It's stupid, not a great idea, but I'm just like going with it here. And then we can somehow illustrate research. So how we can illustrate this, how we can illustrate play, like that there's a lot of, I don't know, a lot of play going on, and that's the highest form of research. Yeah, I don't know, not a simple one, but there's definitely something to it. Play is the highest form of research. Of course, if we can go super simple, we can also say, okay, play, like, or we can rephrase play, think about how to generate more like text elements from play, and we can say like having a good time, or like enjoying what you do, and then valuable insights. And that to me like starts to form some sort of Venn diagram, where to me it feels at least true, when you really enjoy what you do, that's when you get like insights and stuff. So it's not exactly what the quote says, but it's like on a similar theme. So there's like a Venn diagram I see forming. So yeah, but I would just go and kind of dump this all out and start to sketch like circles and stuff and move things around and figure out how to make it happen. But that's essentially how I would go about that.
Yeah, I love the Venn diagram. I already created the illustration for myself here. I can even try to share it. It's going to be crappy in the screen size, but shit. It's a super crappy illustration, but this is what we lost Janis. But anyway, so this is the one I created, but unfortunately Janis seems to have lost his connection, which is not good. Anyway, let's hope Janis gets back, but we are at the end of our time, so I also just want to thank you all for joining this session. I learned an amazing lot from Janis. I hope you did as well. Next, and welcome back. Yeah, something happened. You dropped off.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'll bring it back for any feedback from you. So I thought maybe this is not enjoy, but you said having a good time.
Yeah, having a good time, useful insights, or like breakthroughs. Having a good time, breakthroughs on the right, and then like. No, I would even say having a good time and like breakthroughs is the right circle. And then like, yeah, I don't know. Not sure. But we're onto something here for sure.
Like something like this, and then this is the research or what results, or it's just like this. So
having a good time, breakthroughs, you're having a good time. I don't know. I would maybe write just at the top. I would write like likely to happen, and then point to the circle, to the mid part. Having a good time, breakthroughs likely to happen. In the middle, like weak, not awesome concept, but at least something potentially. So
maybe
yeah.
like this. So you can have a color there, and then it's something like this.
Yep, exactly. Maybe having a good time could be like enjoying your work or enjoying what you do, and then breakthroughs. Yeah, could be. Well, definitely, yeah, onto something. We are onto something here. But man, this was fun. I hope people found this valuable. Of course, if you have some questions or whatever, you can find my email on the website, or drop me a DM on socials. I pretty much answer to everyone. Just might take some time, but if you have any questions, feel free to feel free.
And sign up for Janis's newsletter. It's good. I
Thank you.
receive it, and I'm happy with it. So
thank you.
And thank you for being here. Thank you everyone for joining. It was fun. I learned a lot. I'm sure others did as well. And yeah, hope to see you next time or somewhere around.
Awesome.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You've got a brilliant idea, a concept in your mind, but it's tangled up in jargon, and the clarity is hard to find. You watch it fall flat in the room, it gets lost in the noise, a valuable insight buried deep, despite all your efforts and joys. Too complex, too abstract, the message just won't land. It needs to be persuasive, easy for them to understand. Forget the fear of the pen, you don't need canvas or a brush. We're taking complex thoughts and stripping away the rush with a simple, repeatable system, frameworks and constraints. Dig the dirt to find the gold and break down the complaints. Oh, gotta break it down, make it instantly understood. Yeah, what they need is simple, clear, and good. We're here to explain ideas visually, visually, visually. Turn ideas into visuals, people instantly get. They get it, they get it. Janis found the power, he went from corporate to creator. He found the visual secret, a true communicator. Now millions see his powerful work shared by the best in the game. From abstract thoughts to simple lines, that's how you build your flame. We'll learn the techniques now, the thumbnails and the rules. Make your message memorable without the old complex tools. Forget the fear of the pen, you don't need canvas or a brush. We're taking complex thoughts and stripping away the rush with a simple, repeatable system, frameworks and constraints. Dig the dirt to find the gold and break down the complaints. Oh, gotta break it down, make it instantly understood. Yeah, what they need is simple, clear, and good. We're here to explain ideas visually, visually, visually. Turn ideas into visuals, people instantly get. They get it, they get it. It's more than just a picture, it's persuasive and it's fast. A clarity you can carry, a technique that's built to last. You'll leave the session ready, your ideas clear and free to resonate and grow your voice for all the world to see. Oh, gotta break it down, make it instantly understood. Yeah, what they need is simple, clear, and good. We're here